All right. It's another episode of Dad Can We Talk. I'm your host, Anthony Ray. And we're back with episode, I don't know. I be forgetting my episode numbers. As I'm getting into these 20s, I always forget. I think this is episode 26. But today, man, I'm with my brother, man. I think this is the longest standing friendship that I have in my life currently. We go all the way back to the second grade, man, at Metcalf Elementary. So, yeah, man, me and this brother, we have a long history. He's my oldest daughter's grandfather. Well, I'm putting it on you. speaking it right. But this is my oldest daughter's godfather. And man, like I say, our history is so extensive, man. We've been through a lot. We've seen a lot together. We've done a lot together. I love this brother from the bottom of my heart, man. One thing I will say about him, I think he's one of the realest brothers I've ever had in my life, man. He's always kept it real with me all throughout our life. He's a person that's always pushed me. He's a person that's never been afraid to tell me when I'm wrong. He's just always been a good brother, a very good, genuine brother. And like I say, man, I love this brother from the bottom of my heart, man. And, you know, I'm proud to call him my brother. I'm proud to say that he's my daughter's godfather, because if there was anyone that I had to leave my daughter with, if anything was to ever happen to me and my wife, I could comfortably say I would feel comfortable leaving my daughter to this man and his wife, man. And I truly mean that, man. And but welcome to the show, my brother, Robert Frazier. How you feeling, bro?
Good, bro. Appreciate it, man. I'm glad I was finally able to make it on, man. Been trying to coordinate it for a while, so it's good, man, to be on.
Yes, sir, man. You know, I had to get you on, and I've been waiting for this moment because I know, you know, you, like I say, you one of the brothers that I respect. And when I seen that you was a father, I was like, oh, yeah, I had been scoping you out for a minute. You know, I was like, oh, my boy is a dad now. And even back when I first even thought about Dad Can We Talk, I already knew. I said, hey, I'm going to definitely have my brother on there. But, you know, I want to get right down to business, man. And the first question I always like to ask on Dad Can We Talk is, what was your relationship like with your dad? I want you to talk about that.
I think, man, I was one of the fortunate kids. A lot of my friends, man, growing up, I know you know it. I mean, everybody knew who my dad was. He was present, bro. He was always there. I had an unconventional dad as well, because my mom, as many people know that know me, my mom has an in-home daycare. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stuff, when it came to parent-teacher conferences, when it came to doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, everything you could think about, man, that's my dad did, you know, pretty much everything for us growing up, because my mom couldn't leave home because she had, you know, her business at home, and, you know, ain't no substitute teacher with a daycare, right? So, man, he was present, bro. So I was one of the few guys that, you know, knew who their daddy was. Daddy lived in the house with them, present, active, you know, did music with my dad, man. You know, I was a drummer growing up. My dad was a minister of music at my church. So grew up in the church, you know, active, present father, bro. So I'm one of the few that can say that proudly, bro.
Yeah, that's real. Like you say, I think probably out of all of our friends, the people that I grew up around, only friends that I really remember having their dad in the home with them was you, Ronnie,
Vince,
and I think my boy KJ dad.
KJ, yeah.
And I think really outside of that, that's all I can really remember out of, you know, and that's out of all of our friends. Yeah. I knew y'all dads, you know, like when I thought about y'all, I'm like, oh yeah, I know Rod dad, or I know Ronnie dad, or I know KJ dad. But outside of that, that wasn't something that we seen. And so
exactly, bro.
Growing up, I always admired that, like, dang, man, you know, like Rod like really got his dad. And I think as we grew older, I could tell You know, like it. I think it showed. You know, with how you were. I always go back to when we were in ninth grade,
Yeah.
and at Eastside, man, and when I was in those honor classes, I remember, you know, just like always admiring like the student that you were. I'm like, dang, you know, but I knew I just wasn't there, bro. You know, I was just
I mean, bruh, to be honest with you, we were the biggest distraction to each other in them classes, man. But I think the biggest thing was, man, I knew I was gonna get in trouble, bro. I go home
yeah,
making bad grades. I could get an N or a U or anything
yeah,
else on that report card, bro. But if that thing say C, man, that cat ain't gonna be happy at all, bro. So I mean, I ain't gonna say he didn't care about my conduct, but they knew I
yeah,
was gonna get that talks at inappropriate times.
yeah,
I was gonna get that doesn't listen to instructions. I was gonna get all of that. But boy, I'm making A's and B's in that thing and offset it, boy. So
yeah,
I knew that cat wasn't playing that at
yeah.
all.
And with that, you know, like how would you say like growing up with the dad, a present dad in the home, like how did that affect, you know, everything that you did as far as education, as far as, you know, things that you did outside of school, you know, extracurricular
Yeah.
activities? How was it just growing up with that present dad, and how would you say that it affected you growing up as a young man?
Man, I would honestly tell you, bro, that my one of the things that I saw growing up, my dad didn't go to college. My dad wasn't college educated. But my dad's been working at the VA in Shands probably as long as I can remember. He kept the same job, not like some cats just like they daddy have a
Yeah,
lot of jobs. I remember my dad. The worst job I think my dad had was he worked at ABC Liquor. I remember that.
yeah,
I remember that job right there. But that cat he would work 2 jobs, 3 jobs. So one of my frustrations when I was younger was, man, the cat was always working. Like when I tell you, he worked all the time. And he
yeah,
really instilled that into us, bro, to the point where, like, when I was in high school, that cat was like, all right, bro, like, you got to pay a bill. Like, you got to go get a job. Like, you got to do something to contribute. So I think it was drilled into me at a young age, like that hard work and that work ethic. And one of
mm-hmm,
the things that he would always say, he would be like, man, I'm tired. I've been out here working all these jobs. He's like, if you don't want to be doing this, you need to go to school. So, like, from fifth, sixth grade, bro, all the way up through high school, he used to always tell me, man, you want to do better than me? I want you to do better than me. You need to go get your education. So it was
yeah,
almost like it wasn't even an option not to go to college. Now, I ended up going to the University of Florida. Nobody could have ever told me that.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, bro, he was always saying, education, if you don't got no education, you don't got nothing, pushing me to take, different classes that I didn't think that I could take. And a lot of my behavior problems growing up, to be honest with you, were resulted. It was this lady, her name was Cynthia Barr, bro. She passed away recently, but she talked to my dad. My dad went to her, was talking to her about just my behavior problems, and I was actually bored in them classes. Like I guess I had a rough attention span because I was bored, and I guess I understood all the stuff. And he went to the school and he pushed for me to get an APO and honors classes. And I attribute that to how I was able to get into the University of Florida. And I told him that I didn't feel confident taking them classes because I had never been in no higher, advanced classes or nothing like that. And he pushed me to take those classes, man, and take those courses. So I would just say, bro, I think having him present in his life experiences, he made sure now was he perfect? Nah, nobody perfect, right? I
yeah,
mean,
straight up.
I made my mistakes as a son growing up, but I think having that example of a hard working man has really driven me through all of my life, really.
That's real. That's real. And it, like I say, it go back. I take it back to ninth grade because I believe that if I had a dad in those moments, you know, because my mom was trying to talk me out, you know, I was hell bent on going back into mainstream classes because my whole thing was I can't do this stuff. Like, man, I can't take no honor classes. I ain't even smart like that. And you know, we had a meeting. It was my mom, Mr. Scroll. You remember Mr. Scroll,
Yeah.
Miss Walker, and they were all trying to talk me into staying into the classes. And they were saying, you know, it's not that you can't do the work. You choose not to do the work. But like I say, I was so hell bent on just saying, nah, that ain't me. You know, and I believe that if I had a strong role model, you know, male in my life that would have been like, nah, you know, or someone who just could have sat me down and really talked with me, I think that would have made the biggest difference.
Yeah, I think I had a really good relationship with my mom growing up, but I had a healthy, you know, the Bible talk about like reverential fear. Bro, I was scared of
Yeah,
my daddy.
yeah,
I was scared of that cat, bro. I was scared of that cat. Like I was scared. So
yeah,
like when I like, bro, like it wasn't an option. Like he was a disciplinarian in our house, bro. Like I don't think my mama ever hit me growing
yeah,
up. So I think mama was like that love, affection type person. And my daddy was like, oh, your mama gonna come home. I mean, your daddy about to come home, and when he come home, like that was the thing, boy. So daddy was working all day, boy. You be sitting in the bed like, dang man, I'm finna get it when that cat get here. So
that's
like
real.
trying to keep him off you was a big deal. So
Yeah,
when telling him, oh, I can't do it, but that wasn't no option.
yeah,
That wasn't no option. He wasn't finna raise nobody that's finna be in jail. He wasn't
that's
finna
real.
raise nobody that was finna be struggling, because he used to tell me all the time growing up. He said, man, if y'all grow up and let's say, man, I'm working hard, I'm doing all the things I can do, and they see y'all walking on the street with no shoes on, they ain't gonna be saying, oh man, look at that family over there. They're gonna be
Yeah,
like, man, ain't that Robert Frazier's family over there?
all right, that's real.
He like,
That's
man, it's
real.
on me. It's on me for you to do well. It's on me for you to have the right mechanisms in which you can be successful. So, I'm grateful that he took that like my success, he took it personally. He
That's
took it very
real.
personally.
That's real. How would you say your relationship with your dad growing up has helped you now that you're a father yourself?
Bro, I'll be honest with you. Man, I used to clown that cat, and I know he gonna listen to this, so he know I ain't lying. But man, that cat we used to clown him about the fact he used to buy cheap cereal, and that cat used to be buying Fruity-O's instead of Fruity Pebbles. You like, man, why we eating these Fruity-O's, bro? And then when I became a parent and an adult, I'm like, man,
Right.
I
All
didn't
right.
even realize, bro, like this man was working so hard, and we was struggling, but we didn't know we was poor. I knew we was eating Fritos, so I know it wasn't
Yeah.
all great. But bro, we was struggling, and it really allowed me to be able to, like,
Oh,
I just look at my daughter now, and she's so spoiled, bro. Like she got everything you could ever think of, and so much stuff. Like I think in my older years, we're trying to develop an even stronger bond, because so much stuff I don't think you understand until you're a parent. I think it's so much stuff you don't understand until you older. And in my younger years, I was really, really closer to my mom. And nowadays, man, I feel myself, I need to talk to my father. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
real.
Like, I need to call him when I get into a predicament or a situation, because men need to talk to men about men stuff.
That's
And
real.
it's just a reality, bro. So, it ain't, to the point that I think it can be. It can evolve. It can get better. It can grow. But I think I sense the need for him now more that I am a father than I felt like I did before that, if that
That's
makes
real.
sense.
That's real. That's super real, man. And like you say, if it makes sense, it definitely makes sense to me because, with me, even like, and this is something that I always tell people, even though I'm 31 years old and I didn't grow up with my dad, but over the last maybe year and a half, my dad and I have like really became much more closer, and we have a relationship now to where we call each other. And I'm still trying to get used to it, like calling my dad and just being like, hey, bro, I need to talk. You know, I'm still not there yet, but I want to be there. But I understand that, I really need, like, I desire that from my dad. Like I definitely desire, because like you say, now that we're parents ourselves, and I think it's a different dynamic because you seen your dad, father children. That's not even something that I seen my dad do.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I just need that connection with him. So sometimes I know he might not even understand certain things that I'm talking about because he ain't been through that, what I'm going
Yeah.
through, because he didn't father his children. But I still need his ear,
Yeah, I feel you, bro.
and I think that's what you're saying. Like you need to be, like you say, we need to be able to have a man, and it's the best thing when you have your own father, someone like the person that you came out of, that the person that you
Yeah,
came from.
I think the reality though is, I mean, a lot of times, man, when cats deal with fatherlessness, and I don't know if we're gonna talk about this later, so I apologize, I'm jumping
No,
ahead.
no,
But
that's real.
when cats deal with fatherlessness, like cats play on that. Like people ploy on that. They want to be your spiritual daddy, or they want to be
All
something else
right.
to try to be your daddy to kind of
Yeah,
own you and tell you what to do. I don't got them issues.
that's
I don't
real.
have to worry about being manipulated in that way. And I think one of the biggest things for me is I think, something as simple as how often do you discipline your child? Right?
Yeah,
Because I remember times where like I know, man, I knew I was supposed to get a whooping, bro. And he'll bring me in and scare me like I'm gonna get a whooping and
yeah.
not whoop me. And I never understood, like, he wanted me to be afraid of the consequence in advance of doing what I was doing, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
he wanted to be afraid
Yeah,
of the consequence. So sometimes he'd be like, sometimes, man, I feel terrible about giving you a whooping. I feel terrible
yeah.
about disciplining you. And like now as a parent, sometimes I need to like reflect that off of somebody that's been a parent before. I need to kind of almost like kind of look in a mirror of a parent or of a dad to say, man, I'm dealing with this situation with my 2-year-old, and man, like, what did you do when you'd had 3 of them things, 4 of them things? Like,
Yeah.
how did you deal with that situation in the different phases? Because he done had, I remember when we were young, bro, like we'll have people that was around my parents trying to they got young kids trying to tell my parents about how they should deal with me as a teenager. Bro, you ain't never had no teenager. How
Yeah.
you finna tell how you finna tell them what to do with me?
Yeah.
Trying to send me to military school, bro. Trying to send me to military
No,
school and
man.
all kind of stuff, bro. And I was a bad kid. Don't get me wrong. Like I was a talk backer. Like I say what I want to say. I'm still like that as a adult. I'll pretty much tell you kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
And growing up, they kind of let me be my own person. They ain't try to make me be something I wasn't, or try to mold me to a point where I ain't have no identity. And I think now that influences, like you said, the way that I deal with my daughter. Like I let my daughter say how she feel. I don't tell her, oh, you be quiet, don't you say that. So I think being able to kind of look in that parental mirror, so to speak, you're able to kind of say, man, hey, so in this scenario when I was a kid, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? Or why did you do this? And I think having that reference point of having both of your parents in the house
Yeah.
was something that you can obviously not say about a lot of people.
Yeah. That's real. That's super real, man. Uh, and you hit on a point about the whole people will try and use the fact that you didn't have your dad. I don't necessarily want to go there, but it's a great point because I've seen it, and I believe that I've experienced that in a way to where, just recently, just this year, I started realizing certain things, and I think that's drove a wedge between me and a lot of people just
Yeah.
this year in my life. Like this year, I came into this year like with the whole different mindset because over the years, like I say, I think me receiving healing in the area of of fatherlessness has helped me see a lot of things because I did used to look at I used to look to a lot of people, for I was almost trying to fill the void, I think, at times because I didn't have that relationship with my dad. And so I was more susceptible to like, receiving just anything because I needed that fix. Honestly, I did, bro. And when I came into the faith, you know, I began that healing process. And I think that was something, like, man, it took about 6 or 7 years for me to like really like start really, really, really reaching out to my dad and telling him really how I felt. And I think my dad realized that, and we started building. And as we started building, I started weaning myself off of certain people and certain things because I'm like, even though, like I said, me and my dad aren't there yet, I feel us going there. And the more we're going there, the more the less I feel the need for certain people and things.
Yeah.
And I think, like I say, man, and I ain't gonna go there, but it drove a wedge between me and some of the people that I grew to look to,
Yeah.
as that father figure. And I was just like, man, like this year has been such a year of transition for me and I feel better. Like I actually feel free now, you know. And in the places where I am lacking, I've learned to look to my real father, you know,
Yeah,
to
exactly,
God,
bro.
and really find that strength and that encouragement for him, because, you know, and that's for anybody listening to this who might be going, who grew up without a father, you know, you got to really find that place in God where you understand who you are in him. Because if not, people will use that,
Yeah, straight up,
you
bro.
know, and it's a scary thing because a lot of people go there like that with certain people, and they allow themselves to be used for such a long time, and then they feel bad because they
Yeah.
don't do certain things that these people want them to do, man. But
Yeah, and I think, bro, like hitting on what you're saying, like that's so huge because, like, I look at, like, you ever went to like the Build-A-Bear factory before?
yeah, yeah,
And like I'm gonna give you a reference, so I'm an analogy guy, bro. I'm a parable dude, so you're gonna probably
yeah,
get a couple of those. But bro, like sometimes like I look at my parenting right now, and bro, I think I'm doing a really good job. I think I'm
yeah,
doing a really good job. Like, not to pat myself on the back, but I think I'm doing a really good job. But I think most parents think they're doing a really good job. Even terrible parents probably think they're doing a good job. And
yeah,
I'm like, it's times as a child, subjectively, you look at your parent and you think about all the things that they could have done better. You look at your dad and think about all the things that you would have did if you was a dad. But man, no matter how much I strive for perfection, I'm gonna fall short. I'm a man. I'm
straight
gonna
up.
fall short when it comes to my daughter and my future kids. Hopefully, I have 4 or 5 more of them. I hope my wife
Yeah,
listens to this. But I'm gonna fall short again, bro. So when my daughter, if my daughter look at my father and resume, she probably gonna have some things that she think, man, I wish he'd have did this different. Or I wish he'd have did that different. So a lot of times I think as adults, bro, like we almost go to that Build-A-Bear factory and try to, after the fact, try to go build the perfect dad after you,
yeah,
like everything that you thought you didn't get for your dad, you try to find that in a person or a combination of people to say,
that's
man,
real.
my dad wasn't like a whole bunch of like, I love you. Like you ain't hear that a whole lot from my daddy. But
Yeah,
man, that cat was sleeping like 4 hours a night. So like that's the best I love you I can give. Like
yeah,
I wore Nikes and Jordans and nice clothes. Like that's a I love you. But he
yeah,
wasn't, he ain't have that growing up from a man like that either. His father was around, but it wasn't like his father was hugging him and saying, I love you, son, and giving them kids. So he
yeah,
wasn't, he was tough, like man up, be a be a tough guy type dad. And like I can look back on that and be like, man, I wish my daddy would have told me I love me a lot. And then you find, a guy over here that's saying I love you all the time, and then cats start falling into all kind of crazy stuff with a man
yeah,
telling them they love them because they ain't heard that. Or another instance is, me and my dad didn't never like build stuff. My dad got a lot of tools though, like a whole bunch
yeah,
of tools. Like I don't know how to put together no couch, or I don't know how to put together no nightstand, bro. I can't read instructions. Like that wasn't what we did. Like me and
yeah.
my dad played music. Like that was our thing,
All
right?
right,
So like, well, I could play some drums, but
all right.
I can't change no oil. Like
Yeah,
that wasn't our thing. So some cats go find a dude that's handy and be like, man, I'm a glean from that from him, and then they start developing a relationship. And my dad told me something. I probably was 19 or
dang, we froze up.
I never. He said, man, like you notice, man, all these cats keep on coming around and they trying to father you, bro. Like you got a father. You good. Like, and I never really understood how big of a deal that was, and never really even noticed it because the reality is sometimes, bro, people be want to take credit for your success.
All
They
right.
want to take credit for your maturation process. And that starts at a young age. So you met me 3 years ago, and now I can do stuff different than what I did, but you ain't built that foundation.
That's real.
So that's
That's
just one of
real.
those things I just wanted to call out. Like I think a lot of people that deal with that fatherlessness, they seeking out, that father figure and trying to build what they feel like they didn't get from their father. And I think that's where a lot of people fall into that trap that you was talking about.
That's real. That's super real, man. We gonna leave that right there because I don't want to go too deep into it because
Yeah,
I
I
I
feel
I I, I, I get lost right there. But I wanted to ask you this. What's one area you believe that you could be better at, with your daughter? How old is your daughter again?
She'll be 3 in January, man. So she 2 years old.
All right. Like, raising the 3, I already know, boy. I think, honestly, people talk about the terrible 2s. I think the 3-year-olds are worse than 2-year-olds,
Don't
in
tell me
my
that, bro.
opinion. Like, real talk, bro. Like, that 3-year-old stage is something serious. But up until this point, so you've been a dad for almost 3 years now. What would you say is, just one area where you really want to improve in?
Man, I think, having a little girl being sensitive, like being a lot more sensitive to her being a girl is an opportunity. I think I'm more of a firm, like disciplinarian type dad. And I think she see the softer side of me now. And the older she get, the more I understand that she needs that. And never being a father before, you want to kind of set certain boundaries. You want to make sure that certain rules and stuff are adhered to. Like, for instance, like one of the big things for her, man, Taylor eat a bag of chips and she'll throw that joint right on the floor and go do something else. Like, I'm like, nah, like we ain't doing that. Like, what's your maiden name? And she'll tell you now, she'll say Taylor. So I think now, like, getting her to understand, that I mean business, I can't be so caught up in that I'm not sensitive and loving on my daughter to the point. Because, bro, what I don't want is have a girl looking for love in the wrong places. Like, I want my daughter to be like, man, I want a man that, treat me like I treat, like I see him treat my mom. I want a man to treat me the way my daddy treat me. So working on that and building those cornerstones in her young age, I think is an opportunity for me.
That's real. And I think that's something that young girls need. I think my youngest is about to turn 4 and my oldest daughter is 7. And one thing I'm noticing about Azriel, I think, like, as she's growing older, like I think it's hard. She's really looking for that from me. Like, she's really looking for, for that real love. Like, she wants to, like, she needs it from me, bro. It's like to the point to where I'm noticing it more and more. She really wants to be up under me a lot, and how people like to say stuff like how people always say, you're your daughter's first love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now starting to experience that. Like, she like looks at me in this way, like, to where, like, I'm that dude for her, like, for real. And I kind of be like, dang, like, I ain't expected to be like this, but I'm like really that person. Wait, hold, let me turn this light on because I see I'm getting dark. Turn that
Bro,
light on right there.
you pretty red to be getting dark, but
Yeah.
I'm with you, bro. I'm there, bro. I got the light on. I'm already dark, but I'm with you.
Yeah. But yeah, so but yeah, and I think that's just an important thing for us to really show our daughters that, like, that love, that manly love, and treat them like the young women that they are. Even at 3 years old, they need that, and they don't just need it. They're gonna look as she get older, as Taylor get older, I'm telling you, it's like she gonna really look at you like, well, shoot, she almost gonna be jealous, bro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's my man. I think there's a wedge that sometimes there's like, oh well, why? What did she say sometimes? Like, well, why you always like? Why would you go on a date with mommy and just go with mommy alone? I'm like, what you mean? That's my wife. Like, what you mean? Like,
my girl said she going to date too, Doc.
Like, because I think we went on a date one time, and so she was like, oh well, why you and mommy go on a date? Like, why is it just y'all? I'm like, what you mean? That's my wife. Like, that's what you do with your wife. And she was like, well, why don't you ever go on a date with me? And I was like, well,
Wow.
we can. I ain't say that we can't. It's just this time I went with mommy, and it's stuff like that, you know, like almost like, well, shoot, you give mommy time, I need my time too. You know, and
That's
she
real.
right though. She right, you know, because I do have to make that time out, you know, for her, because that as she grows older, she'll need that. Because if I don't give it to her, like you said, as she get older, she'll go find it from elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, man, that's good. I wanna go here, man. I wanna hit on this marriage topic, man. What y'all been married right behind us? What y'all are 7 years, right?
Yeah, 2013, bro.
7 years, man. How's that been?
Boy, it's been a man, people try to act like marriage is a straight line, bro. It's a roller coaster that go around corners and go up through ups and downs. But
Yeah.
when you get off a roller coaster at the end, man, you like, man, I actually like that roller coaster. When you on
All
it,
right.
boy, sometimes you like, boy, if I get off this thing right here and I survive, Lord, I ain't gonna never do it again. But you know, it's been an experience, bro, and a real I think a maturation process through the years.
Yeah. Yeah, man. What would you say is if you had to give someone who's thinking about getting married, what would be your just one tip that you would give a young man who's thinking about going into marriage? What would be one tip that you would give him?
I think, you know, it's kind of like when you getting ready to apply for a job, right? You look
Mm-hmm.
at your credentials in relation to the job that you're applying for, and you
Mm-hmm.
know if you're qualified for the job you're applying for. So you look at,
Yeah.
you know, this job, say, man, you need a master's degree. You're like, man, I got a high school diploma, man. I don't know if I get that job. You won't even apply
Yeah.
for it. You're gonna be like, man, let me go ahead and apply for that job. But so many cats at high school diploma stage, and to me, you know, at least at least marriage, you got to be at a maturity level of a master's degree, to me. And I think, you know, if I was a man looking to give somebody, well, I am actually doing that. If I'm giving somebody advice
Yeah.
to kind of determine, man, am I gonna get married or not get married? I think you should look at your resume. Can you be with one woman and be faithful?
All right.
Can you can you provide for a family?
Yeah.
Like, do you see yourself as a protector emotionally as well as physically?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that you have the makings to be selfless and give of yourself continually even when you don't want to?
Yeah.
Do you care more about buying Jordans and PlayStation games than taking care of your rent? Like, you know, are your priorities in check? Are your are you selfish? Like, if you selfish, boy, that marriage gonna be boy, marriage gonna be hard. So
Boy, boy,
I would
boy.
just say, like, you gotta kind of look at your resume of your life and understand if you're ready for that phase. Like, and I think so many times, like, cats ain't never seen nobody be married. And I
Yeah.
think I
Yeah.
would advise that you find somebody, like, if you dating a girl and y'all think about getting married, like, you need to talk to somebody with some years in that thing. And I ain't even talking like somebody like me. I'm talking about somebody been in
All
it.
right.
My parents have been married for 29 years.
Yeah.
I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs, I've
All
seen,
right.
and so when my marriage hit turmoil and when things was going on in my marriage, my parents were like, well, we still in it. So I got that example of they done been through a bunch of stuff and they made it through all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. So I understand what that resilience is like, you know. So I think, you know, if I'm looking at a person saying, hey, I'm thinking about getting married, I'm like, boy, let me see your resume. Let me see
Yeah.
your resume. Well, let me make sure you can qualify for this job before you apply. Because, bro,
Yeah.
so many cats, like, I used to tell people at my job, they'll be like, hey, man, you should apply for X job or you should go out for this. And I'm like, bro, I ain't finna apply for a job and get the job knowing I can't do the job and get fired and I ain't got
All
no
right.
job.
All right.
Like, I ain't gonna do that. So if I wouldn't do
That's
that with
real.
my employment, why would I do that to a life and do that to my family, put myself in a situation where I know I'm not emotionally and 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 physically prepared to take on that responsibility.
That's so real. And I like that you use that analogy because at my job, people always ask me about management. They always ask me, you know, because I'm one of the, you know, uh, as far as order fillers go, I'm one of the top order fillers, you know, and I know almost everything about what I do. And so people, they always like, man, why you ain't in management? I'm like, bro, I don't want to do that, you know. and people ask me about applying for it, but I'm like, I'm not going to apply for that job knowing that I'm not going to be as committed as I should be because I got too many other things going on outside of Walmart to be committed to Walmart. I just know I am. And so I'm like, why would, like, in the same way, like you said, I'm like, bro, I'm not going to apply for something knowing that I'm not. Like, why would you jump into marriage when you know you ain't committed? You know you're not going to be committed. Like, you already know, like, man, you ain't got no intentions on being committed. You ain't never thought about being committed, and you know that you're not about to be committed. But you,
Sean, I think when people look at stuff like Family Matters and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, man, marriage look cool. Like, man, they got money. Yeah. They got money. They living well. They got nice jobs. A lot of time the husband make enough money for the wife not to have to work, or they got good, good upstanding stuff. Bro, I'm talking about, bro, when we first got married, we was broke. I'm talking about broke. So when you talking about, do you love somebody? Do you love somebody when you got money and when you broke? Bro, it's hard to love when you broke. Man. Like, that's a different type of love, boy. Cause you start looking at each other like, bro, I'm tired of eating sandwiches, man. I'm tired of living, bro. I remember one time, because my wife like nice things, man. She's always been that way. And I had my wife living in an apartment, and when we first moved to Tampa, I moved down here for a job. And bro, I had my wife living in this apartment, and that joint had roaches, and that joint was small. And Donnie was like, "Hey, bro, we gonna have to. I ain't with it, boy. It make you look at each other different, bro. Like, you ain't got nothing." So I think as we've matured and we've grown together, we've seen, that the ups, the highs, and the lows. And I think, so many people like look at the highs of marriage and it look fun, but bro, there are some lows. There are some things that ain't gonna go right. There are some things that aren't gonna be as appealing. And I think the problem is that when you look at the representation of what marriage is from a media perspective, from a social media perspective, from different lenses, nobody ain't telling you about the bad part. You see the wedding, you see the reception, boy, and then you see have it ever after, boy. You don't see that fight. You don't see them arguments. You don't see none of that. So I think having more marriages be prevalent in our communities is important, because growing up, my parents were married, but I ain't know a whole bunch of people that was married. Yeah. Like, growing up, you ain't see a bunch of married couples and families walking around. More so in our generation, you see it a lot more now than you did when we were growing up. So I think so that's a big piece of it as well, bro. Just having marriage be present so you can actually see what marriage means. And I think that's the importance of, of the movement that you're doing, having not just dads, but having marriages that work and that are functional, so that you raise kids that seem functional, working marriage, so that they can go and understand what it takes to have a functional and working marriage. I think that's key, bro. If you see it, then you could try to embody it. But a lot of times people ain't never even seen marriage. So they think, man, we live together, we might as well get married. All right. And that's cool. We live together, man. We got a kid, man, shoot. The only thing left to do is to get married. I'm like, man, but bro, you ain't got no job. How you gonna take care of this family? Yeah, y'all live together, but she don't want to take care of you forever. Like, you supposed to provide for your family. You supposed to be the spiritual hedge and protection for your family. So a lot of cats I think they look at a couple things that go on that resume, but I don't think, I think, to be fair, have we provided a template to our young men, and I say young men now like I'm old, but I'm 31. Yeah, all right. Even guys that's my age, when cats come to me and say, man, I'm thinking about getting married, can I even provide the insight of what I believe are key functions that you should understand before you get married, right? I think having that knowledge is key, bro.
Yeah, that's real. And like, this is something that, I've talked with my wife before. We always talk about, when we got married, I was 23, we were 8 years ago. I was 23. She was like 20. I think she was 21 at the time. And we literally, honestly, we just wasn't ready. Financially, we weren't ready to make that step. But we were so zealous. Now, we were both ready in the commitment department. We were just like, man, we gonna do this. But I think if we had to go back, we could have waited longer until we were better established, and we can look back and we can both say that, because now, looking at it, in hindsight, we can say that, dang, we didn't have to rush, but it felt like we did, because of the situations that both, I think I was trying to play savior for my wife because of the situation she was in. And I was just like, I gotta get her here. Like, I gotta get her away from what she's in. I gotta get her here so that I can help her, instead of just trusting God, And I believe that God would have still allowed us to come together, and we would have been more prepared,
Yep.
And that like you say, man, that financial strain, bruh, boy, that ain't nothing to play with, bruh. Like, it ain't, and I can go on and on about that. But, so yeah, for anyone out there who may be listening, take heed, because what this brother just said, man, look at your resume and understand what it is that you have on this resume and what you don't have. Please take heed. Do not just jump out there, because the marriage rate in the church and out of the church is 50% and over. I mean, not the marriage rate, but the divorce rate is 50% or better, in Christian homes and non-Christian homes. So being in the church don't make no difference, and
right. Like one of the things, one of the analogies I like to give about marriage, I tell my wife, it's like playing an adventure game with, you remember back in the day when we had like Sega Dreamcast and PlayStation that needed a memory card.
All right.
Being married is like playing a video game with no memory card. Like if you mess up and your power go out, boy, that's it. And so many people act like marriage has a memory card, bro. It does not have a memory card. Like, you were on this journey continually. Like, I'm talking about, bro, I used to, when I play my game and I cut that game on, I know my mom ain't want me to keep that game on. I cut the TV off. I put it over the PlayStation so you don't know it's alone. Well, I did all that stuff because of the fact that I realized how difficult it would be to start over. And that's how I feel about getting divorced. But like, I didn't put so much into this. Let's say you've been playing this game and you got like 5 more levels to go before you win it. Bro, cutting that thing off and starting over, I'm like, I can't, bro.
I ain't doing it no more.
I know what that looked like. I'm like, boy, I know what it looked like first 7 years of marriage. I know how it was, and we're starting to really start to see the fruit of our labor. Getting married 23 and 22 years old. Like, now we're 30 and 31, and we're getting to the point now where we're like, man, we living. Like, life is good. And I'm like, bro, I wouldn't dare think about resetting the game after I've been, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a good analogy to think about. Like, I refuse to start the game over, bro. And I think so many times why it's so easy for certain folks to get a divorce at times is because, like you said, that resume ain't up to par and they should never got married in the first place. Or the fact that one person doesn't really feel like it's that big of a deal to have to reset.
That's real.
So if you playing the game with your friend or with your buddy or with your brother, and both of y'all want to make sure that game don't get cut off, boy, y'all gonna be invested in making sure that y'all are not, doing nothing around the game. Y'all ain't playing around the courts. Y'all ain't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Any of that stuff, y'all both vested in it. But if one person don't care and they go in and they just messing with stuff and unplugging the game and stuff like that, one person being reckless will lead to a lot of disappointment and fighting, right? So I think what you're saying is so key, bro. Like, the divorce rate is high for a lot of different reasons, but I think, for me, bro, I restarting, bro, after all we've been through, I think we both are very invested in continuing this thing going.
That's real. That's super real, man. That is real. Like I say, y'all, take heed. If you out there listening and you ain't married yet, please take heed. You got 2 brothers who done been married 7 years and 8 years. We done been through some stuff. We all it's kind of like we playing that one game that was on Sega, Shinobi. I don't know if you ever got to the last level on Shinobi, bro. Boy, Shinobi was so hard, bro. If Shinobi cut off and you on that last level, I ain't doing it no more.
And I'm crying too. I'm crying too, bro. I'm crying, boy. I'm crying, and I'm about to go do something that's gonna get me in trouble, boy. I'm about to go break something or something, boy. Somebody got to pay.
Yeah.
Somebody got to pay for this. Straight
That's
up.
real. Straight up, bro. But I remember maybe a couple months ago, I seen you post something on your Facebook about I think you asked, I don't remember necessarily exactly what it was, but you said something about you asking your daughter something and it gave you like an epiphany of how like or how we lost confidence as children.
Yeah.
I want you to speak on that, you know, like if you can remember that, what you were talking about, because I think it was a very important point you made in that about how we lost confidence as children. You know, I think you were saying something about how confident your daughter was about something that you knew she couldn't do, I think, but she was just that confident. And now as we're adults, it's like we don't have that same confidence anymore. It's like we'll almost talk ourselves out of certain things.
Exactly.
And if you can't remember that, man, I'd like for you to speak on that because you made I thought about that when you said it. I was like, that's a good point right there.
Yeah, bro. So y'all, what Shad talking about is one day I was sitting there with Taylor, and I told her, I said, Taylor, I said, you know, she did something and she didn't do it right. I don't know what it was, but she didn't do it right. And I said, Taylor, you the best. And she said, yes, I is.
Yeah.
she said, yes, I is. And she says that all the time. Like, or she'll say, I sure am. But now that she can talk a little better, she'll say, yes, I am. But she said, yes, I is. And I was like, man, like the level of confidence that this girl has, like she believes she the best at everything, even when she's not. Man, she'll draw a paper. Like you'll have a coloring book in front of her, and I say, Taylor, draw me a pretty picture. Man, Taylor scribble all over that thing. I'm talking about the most nothing picture you ever looked at. And I'll be like, oh, girl. And she'll be like, I did good, Daddy. Oh, Daddy, look at this. And she'll show me this is a blue, and I put the blue on the green. And she has so much confidence. And I think, you know, being a father, my boss used to tell me at work all the time, she'd say, your perspective is going to change when you have a kid.
Yeah.
She said, I think you're going to be better at everything you do after you have a kid. I think you need to have a kid. And I used to get mad by that thing, bro. I used to be like, I thought that she was trying to like use some kind of unconscious bias against me because I was young and I ain't had no kids. And I felt like she was trying to judge me. But I think like looking back on that statement now and having my daughter and seeing her confidence level and even, bro, her confidence in me. Bro, the other day, because I'm working out, I done lost like 60 pounds, man, in my weight loss journey. And I'm working out hard and trying to get in shape for my family. I had a guy, and I shout him out on his name, Tony Milo.
Yeah.
Awesome dad, great teacher, great coach. He called me one day and he said, man, when are you going to lose some weight? I was like, how dare you? Like, what? He said, when are you going to lose some weight? And I said, well, I'm going to lose it one day. He said, if you don't lose weight, one day you're going to die and another man's going to raise your daughter.
Dang.
Oh, man. Like, you talk about like a gut punch. I was like, oh my God. So I've been on this tip, like really working out. And the other day, man, I've been doing this P90X workout and I got into this workout and Taylor looked at me and she said, come on. I was down on the ground. I was breathing all hard. Lord, this is just the hardest workout ever. And I said, and I've been telling Taylor, like, when she says, I can't do that, I say, Taylor, what can you do? And she says, I can do anything.
Yeah.
That's our thing, right? So when she starts saying she can't do something, and man, I was on the ground, bro, and I'm dying down there. I'm so tired. And I said, man, I can't do this. And she said, yes, you can, Daddy. You can do anything.
Yeah.
And I talk about like, it was like her placement. I was like, oh my God, like even the confidence that she has in herself, she has even more confidence in me.
All right.
And it's just so funny that like so many times as parents, we try to etch stuff into our kids and we don't realize that we need that same stuff etched into us.
Yeah.
That confidence. So I was telling all my Facebook friends, I was like, man, when you think you can't do something, you got to look at yourself and you got to say, man, can I do that? You know, am I capable of passing this class? And I say, yes, I is.
Yeah.
Am I capable of being a good dad? Yes, I is. Like, because at the end of the day, you know, I know some people like, man, that grandma wrong. But at the end of the day, bro, like she was dead serious about that thing. She said, yes, I is. Like, I know I can do anything. So I just think, Shar, like, I think it's mutual, right? She has that confidence in me. just like she has that confidence in herself. And I think as we get older and the world beat us down, especially as African American people, bro. Like the
Yeah.
world beats us down to submission. And I think so many times we begin to look at ourselves through the lens of people that have a distorted view of our value. And I think as a kid, before you have, my daughter will walk up to anybody and give them a hug. My daughter
Mm-hmm.
she's just different. Like she has no sense of you white, I'm black, no sense of you poor, I'm rich, no
Yeah.
sense of I'm poor, you rich, none of that. Like she has no bias. And I think
Yeah.
as you get older, you start to look at yourself through lenses that people have. I remember, bro, like growing up as a kid for me, and Shia, you know this, man. We were told we were gonna be in prison, we were gonna be in jail, we were gonna
All
be
right.
nothing, we was gonna be. I got told that more than I was told you're gonna be successful.
All right.
Like I was been like when people found out I went to the University of Florida, they're like Robert Frazier. Like
All
you
right.
talking about talk a lot, Robert Frazier. That Robert
Yeah.
Frazier.
All
But
right.
I think the reality is that what I'm trying to be consciously aware of is making sure that I speak life into my daughter at a rate that nobody can reverse what I done spoken to her.
Yeah.
So like her saying stuff like I can do anything, that's gonna come to her when somebody telling her that what she can't do or what her limitations are or what she can't conquer. I'm gonna etch in her that she can do anything she put her mind in, and I'm gonna say it to the point that it becomes natural to her to think that way. And I think that's something I learned from my parents. You know what I'm saying? I learned from
Mm-hmm.
my parents that when I say I can't do something, my dad be like, based on what? What?
Yeah.
Why can't you do that? Who said you can't do that? When I told him, man, I need to go to this Division II school, play football. That's what I'm gonna do. And he said, no, you can go to the University of Florida. I said, man, I can't go to no UF. I'll barely get through Eastside class. How I'm gonna go to UF?
Yeah.
And he just, really instilled that in me. And I tried to take it to the next level with my kid. So it's pretty funny that you brought that up, man. I had, I remembered it, but I'm glad you brought that up, man. I think that was
Yeah.
really for me. It was a defining moment for me to really make sure that the more I talk to her, I continue to foster her building that confidence.
That's real. That's real, man. And I want to say this about you, because like you said, I believe that, we've both overcome so many obstacles and um the odds were against us, just growing up just as black men, period. But I always love your story because I look at you, like I say, I always looked up to you like, man, my dog went to UF. Like my dog like really did that. And I just always admired you, bro. And I see how far you've come from when we first, like, I would have never thought that we was in second grade at Metcalf, when I first met you. And it's like, I look at you where you are in your life now and the odds that you overcome. And I see everything that you've accomplished and just where you are is it's amazing, bro. And it's a testimony. And you're a smart man, like all of this, bro. And I want to go here because I look at you as someone like that. I see everything that you can do and how you're even succeeding in your profession. How did you feel about Wells Fargo CEO saying what he said about basically the black market, almost, how they're paraphrasing in so many ways, like, I don't hire that many black people because they ain't really qualified. How did that make you feel being who you are?
Man, bro. So, man, it's funny you brought that up. I was just talking to somebody about that today. I've been sending that article to everybody, bro. That thing got me. I am unhappy. I think I did this study when I went to the University of Florida about economic conditions of the African American family, right?
Yeah.
And I'm answering your questions. So it's gonna take me a minute to
Yeah.
get around
No, go there.
to your question.
I'm
So I
following.
talked about the economic conditions of African American family. Obesity rates of African Americans related to other obesity rates of other families. When you look at our communities, what is near our communities? What is near our communities? McDonald's,
Fast food.
Pizza Hut, all this very bad food. And when you want Chipotle, where you gotta go?
Near the college or on the outskirts.
Exactly. And it was about Gainesville. And I was in this African American studies class and I was talking about that. And I was saying a lot of times the conditions in which we are raised in determine the outcome. So when I see fat black people, I don't think it's just because they lazy, because a lot of black, a lot of some black people, they're walking everywhere they're going. So how you walk everywhere? You getting all this exercise, but you still fat.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times we don't teach our people about nutrition. We don't teach our people how to save money. We don't teach our people to get education. We don't teach our people to reform in a way that allows us to be able to be successful in, I want to say the corporate sector, in a way that we can actually impact change in that sector. So when that article came out, I think there's some truth and some realities to it. What he said was bull crap, to be quite frank. But him saying that he can't find black talent. First of all, what are you doing to invest money into African American HBCUs to foster that talent?
Yeah.
Right. I know plenty of capable people that are African Americans, went to the University of Florida, FAMU, Howard, Hampton. There's a bunch of educated people. But what mechanisms do you put in place to employ those African Americans? Right. So I remember one time I applied for a job. And this isn't specific to African Americans, but I'm gonna link it, right? And I actually wrote this part down. So I applied for this job, and they told me, you are not qualified for this job because you don't have experience. I said, okay. So I went, did some other jobs, got experience, came back, applied for that same job. They said, you overqualified. I said, so like, what's the math? Like, can you tell me the math? Like, tell me like, I know one year of experience plus 4 years of education, does that equal qualified? So then if I get 3 years of experience in education, does that equal 7? So now I'm overqualified? Like, I don't think we understand the math of being qualified.
Yeah.
What is your criteria of finding somebody that's qualified? And I think if I was able to talk to him, and I hope, man, Sean, I hope he listened to it. I hope somebody know him and they pull him. I hope, because we in Singapore now, right, Sean? We in Singapore.
All right, Singapore, all that, baby.
You got me on here, so boy, you gonna get Zimbabwe and Africa. They coming, bro. So like now, I'm hoping that we get Wells Fargo on this thing, because the reality of it is, I work for Coca-Cola. I think a lot of people know that, and I think that I've been able to do some good things there. But I've had the right mentors. I've had the right favor, bro. The favor of God has allowed me to meet the right people at the right time. What's the likelihood that I move to Tampa, we get franchised, the state of Florida gets franchised by African American CEO, and they move the corporate office to Tampa?
Yeah.
Like, what's the likelihood of that? All right. So I understand that certain circumstances have provided me great opportunity, but I think all that grunt work that I did when I was working at McDonald's, freaking 12 hours a day, making $7 an hour, trying to pay for school. Like, a lot of people don't understand that grind. But to get back to your specific question, I think I've had the right non-African American people teach me the non-African American game.
Yeah.
So for instance, I had a guy come in today. He was in the neighborhood, he was in the area, in the Riverview area, and he was detailing cars, a black guy. And he came in and man, bro, I'm talking about, my car ain't never looked this clean. I'm gonna send you a picture. Never looked that clean ever. And the cat, I asked him how much he charged. And bro, he detailed my whole car, shot, vacuumed it out, shined my rims with a toothbrush. And said $30. I'm like, bro, if I'd have took this car down the street, I'd have paid $80 for what you just. Why are you charging me $30? And I think it floored him when I was trying to pay him more money. I'm like, bro, I don't understand. Why are you devaluing your work?
Yeah.
Bro, normally, people don't want to pay that. I'm like, well, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't. And I think as African Americans, bro, we devalue ourselves based on the way we're perceived, and we don't even step out there and try to apply for those jobs, because we're in a deficit from the beginning before we ever even apply for it. If your name is Roshonda Johnson, but they ain't pulling up their resume. So if you're a black person that ain't had kids yet, please name your son John or something that's normal. Don't name your son Chosen. Don't name your son Chosen. I know we be trying to go for sentimental value, but you are not going to get an interview if your name is Chosen Robinson. I'm sorry. It's a reality. So that's how they find ways to kind of phase us out of the interview process. Oh, his name Chosen Robinson, and his address says Inglewood. Oh, that's a black dude. I ain't even gonna interview him. But my name Robert Gerard Frazier. But I'm gonna get in the door. If you don't look at nothing specific, you like University of Florida, Robert Gerard Frazier. I don't know if he's a black guy, white guy, or what. So sometimes I'm able to walk into doors just because my name fits the system, right?
Yeah.
So I think the reality is I don't think we should conform. I love your son's name, Uriah. That's a strong, biblical, wonderful name. Not that you should, conform and make your son Benedict or something like that. I'm not saying that. You saw I said my head side, Benedict. I'm not saying you should name your son Benedict, but I am saying that I think the mechanisms of how we do testing, I think the mechanisms of understanding the system, I think a lot of times more white Americans and people that understand the game don't teach it to us. And then when black people get in the game, they believe that they got to hold the secrets to the game to not let other black people get in.
That's
so
real.
It blows my mind that if you look at a lot of sports blogs, you see us talking about a poor black man that became a all-star basketball player, LeBron James. Black people dog LeBron James more than white people do.
All right.
How do you do that? And I think a part of that is we believe what they say about us. We believe that we're not good enough. We believe that we fall into that. So not only do I think it was bullcrap that he said that, I think there's a lot of systems, and hopefully I explained this well, there's a lot of the systems that are against us that we don't understand. We don't understand how to do resumes. We don't understand that we should have a cover letter. We don't understand that our reference shouldn't be our auntie.
Yeah.
Your reference can't be your auntie, man. Your reference can't be your auntie. You got to go get somebody that got some stack. So when they reach out to that person, you got something on that resume. We don't hone in on interview skills. We don't teach. So that's why I implore so many people. Like when I went to University of Florida, they ain't do none of that for me. They ain't but when you go to African American HBCUs, they are starting to really link into some of that stuff, teaching us how to be able to survive in those worlds. So I think it was bullcrap, overall that he said that. But I think at the same time, I think that as African Americans, we should take that personally. Yeah. And the people that do know should be trying to create mechanisms and inform people that don't know. So I think what he said was wrong. And I sent you that secondary article where he tried to backpedal and go away from it. But I think the reality of it is that, black people that work at Wells Fargo should be saying something. Yeah. Black people that work at Wells Fargo should be pushing back against that. But I think the reality is he said, and sometimes I think, Shad, when people say racist stuff like that, like we let them slide, like we let them kind of just be like, oh man, he shouldn't have said that. But what about the CEO that didn't say it, but he felt that way?
All right.
Like just because they ain't saying it don't mean they don't mean it. So I think the reality is we should take that personally, and we should ensure that we are cultivating the right partnerships and relationships and cultivating the right, I guess you could say the right means to ensure that our kids are educated in the things that we weren't necessarily educated in, to hopefully close that gap in the next generation more than we were able to before us.
That's real, man. That's perfect. And I can agree with that and that was one reason why I wanted to go back to school, because I know there were some things that I didn't know. And at Full Sail, I can say this, Full Sail is one of those schools that teaches a lot of that stuff. They're not a traditional, like Full Sail teaches you a lot of practical skills, like resume building and interview skills. And their whole thing is we want to prepare you for the workforce. Like we want to prepare you to go directly into what it is that you came to this school for. And they do everything, and they give you every tool possible. Now you have to do that work yourself. You got to like really go after that. But I've learned so much just in this last year and a couple of months that I've been in school, things that I did not know, bro. And these are skills that I literally needed for not just for me, but like you said, for my children. Now, as my children get older, now I can give them this same stuff. And, now when I'm at work or something, and I see a lot of young guys that come through the job, and I'm one of the trainers in my department. And I love just when I see a young, especially me, I love our people, bro. So when I see a young black man come through there, what? I'm putting my hands around the young brothers, and I'm telling them, one young guy, he's going to FAMU. And I guess he had just got the job just for a little summer job or whatever. And he was thinking about staying. And I was like, huh? I say, no, bro, stay in school. What are you doing? Like, man, work this job until you, like you said, for these next couple of weeks and get up out of here, bro. Go to Tallahassee and do what you need to do. And I got his number and I check up on him all the time. I had his dad on the podcast a couple of episodes ago.
Okay.
And, I was just every day, talking with him, just giving him just, life skills. Like, man, bro, you are 19 years old. What do you know the potential that you have? Do you know what you can do in this life? Like, do you understand, what's ahead of you? Because I was one of those kids that didn't know. I ain't grow up with no dad. I ain't grow up with the guidance. And now that I'm 31 and I'm like, yeah, bro, you just started your college career. I'm like, bro, I'm 31 and I'm just now talking about I'm in college. I'm like, man, I should have been did this a whole 12 years ago, but I played around with it and I paid for that in my life. I paid for, the fact that I didn't pay attention in high school. I paid for the fact that I didn't even pay attention in middle school. So many things that I should know at 31. Like, I ain't started learning about simple stuff, credit and all type of stuff till I was like 26, bro, 27.
That's a part of the system, though, Shad. That's what I'm saying. It's a part of the. Bro, they were teaching us algebra, but we weren't learning how to write a check. We weren't learning how to balance save money and stuff like that. And I think just our communities, that's something that I ultimately want to do, is to be able to foster education specific to teach people business acumen and bring the right mentorship. Because I think another piece is having mentorship, right? I ain't saying you got to try to find a father figure. I ain't
straight up.
Having the right mentorship. And I tell people all the time, boy, when I get a job, the number one thing I do, Shad, is I find the one I want to go get.
Yeah.
I find the job I want. And I dress for that job. I learn everything I can, because a lot of people get caught up in, oh, that ain't my job. I ain't doing that. That ain't my job. I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
I get to the point where, and then I find that person that seems to be interested in me, and I hold on to him.
Yeah.
I hold on, and I hold on to him in a way that I just suck all they could give. I'm talking about, bro, I suck it out of them. Information, I'm going to sit there and be like, when they talking, I'm listening. I'm taking notes. I'm going to them for advice on what's my next move. How should I do this? How should I frame my resume? So I think, in addition to what you're saying, I think it's funny because, like, my dad now, you try to ask that cat about building a website, he could do it. You ask that cat about making something in Excel, you be like, man, like, this is an uneducated black man right here. Like, this is a guy that ain't, he ain't educated by the system, but he educated because he is on his own term, looking at YouTube, looking at all this stuff. So I kind of had that grind mentality, but just, I'm telling you, it's timing, mentorship, and preparation before, because if you get the right opportunity that's in front of you, but you ain't got the education, then that kind of hurts you. If you got education, but you ain't surrounded yourself in a way that allows you to be prepared, sometimes as little as, I had a cat, Shad, you just made me think about, I was a supervisor at a warehouse when I first got the Tampa. I was a supervisor, and this guy, you see me, I could wear shorts every day. I could wear shorts. I could wear a polo. All I had to do was wear polo and shirts and shorts, and then I would have to wear steel-toe boots.
Yeah.
And I could wear anything I wanted to wear in that realm. I could put on any kind of polo I wanted. I could put on any kind of short Dickies, whatever. And I would wear dress slacks and dress shirts every day.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, I don't understand, man. It's hot, bro. I'm talking about sweating, hot. Boy, I'm talking about sweating, shot. But I'm like, well, I ain't finna
Yeah.
be here long, bro. I ain't finna be
Yeah.
here long. So I had an opportunity to interview this guy, and he told me he was gonna apply for this role. And when he applied for the role, he came in the interview, pants sagging.
No.
He didn't have on no tie. His resume was like 2 paragraphs. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like in the proper format. It was in two long paragraphs. Like I went to college. I mean, I went to high school at this. Like I'm talking about a paragraph, bro. Like,
Yeah.
like, and I asked him. I said, bro, you ain't had nobody look at this. Like you ain't had nobody. You ain't like put this outfit in front of the mirror and look at it and say, man, this don't look like. Like I wouldn't hire myself. Let me, And then I started thinking about it. I said, does he have the mechanisms to a tie?
Yeah.
And I looked at him outside of work. He was wearing Jordans, and I'm like, yeah, you had the mechanisms, but who taught him that he should wear a tie? Who taught him that is how his resume should look? Who taught him that he shouldn't wear his pants under his butt and he should put a belt on, right? So I think sometimes it's understanding what to do and then having the mental acumen to actually do it. So when I pulled him to the side, I said, bro, I tried to tell him everything I just told you, and he said, man, you are Uncle Tom. You just like them. You one of my people. You should have been the one advocating for me, because this is how we dress, and this is how we talk. And I know I don't talk perfect, but I could do the job. I said, bro, this system ain't made for us. It ain't made for us in the way our culture has decided to act. Now I ain't saying you can't wear whatever attire you want to wear. I ain't saying that you should have to conform and look like the next man. But I do believe that understanding the rules and understanding the system is a big part of being able to get into certain doors. Now, when you get into those doors, you can try to transform whatever, but you have to follow the rules. It's a game, and you got to play the game to be able to get in certain doors.
That's real, man. If there's any young man out there listening, take heed. This some free game, and this ain't a man that's just talking just to be talking. He's been there, he's done it. Listen, man, take heed. I'm telling y'all, because everything you just said was the truth. And I think those are things that, like you say, it's just stuff that we ain't been taught. That's not something that we talk about in our community. Honestly, growing up, we ain't talking about that type of stuff, man. All we know is sports, women, partying, drugs. I mean, that's what we talk about. I remember I was talking with a guy that used to go to we used to go to church with him. It was an older white guy, and I forgot what we would talk about. And I was just like, man, bro, you know what me and my friends talked about growing up? We didn't talk about college, bro. Like, we never, like, that was never a conversation like, hey, I'm going to go to Princeton, or like, man, we want to talk about that job, bro. I'm like, man, we were talking about, what female we going to get? I'm like, that was our conversation, like what type of shoes we trying to go get next week. I'm like, it wasn't a thing, bro. It's not like we just didn't care. It's just, it wasn't a reality for us. So we ain't really.
It wasn't something we were looking forward to either, bro.
Yeah,
We just seen so many young cats and got shot and died at a young. It wasn't like we was like, man, bro. Did you imagine? Like, really think about this, Sean. Like, really think about this. Did you ever think about being 31 with 3 kids?
Never.
Ever. Like, ever in your life? Did you ever think about, I'm gonna be married one day and I'm gonna have some kids? And I never ever thought about that ever.
Never.
Ever. Like, I never thought about it. So I'm like, I didn't think about college. I wasn't thinking about what I was gonna do and what I want to do when I retire and where I want to live. I wasn't thinking about none of that. I was thinking about this year, here and now, until a white dude asked me where I want to go to college.
Yeah.
A white dude asked me, where do you want to go to college? And a teacher, my English teacher, asked me to apply for the University of Florida and told me she'll pay for it.
Yeah.
And then I applied and got in, right? So, bro, I am honestly a blueprint of somebody that didn't necessarily think through all this stuff, and God graced me in a way that I can't take the credit for, bro. I've just been faithful and been somebody that has listened to the advice of people that have been older than me. When people told me to go to college, I ain't need to, like, I've never been that kid. And my dad will tell you this. If you talk to my dad and you ask him this question, he'll tell you, I have never been a, I gotta get burned to know that the stove hot kid. Like, I ain't never been that kid, boy. You tell me, you touch that thing over there, you gonna get electrocuted. I'm be like, cool, I ain't gonna touch that joint. I'm good. Like, you touch it, you up there, Benihana's or Kobe's or Yamato's, and they like, man, that stove top right there hot. I ain't gonna touch that joint. I ain't never been that kid. So when my daddy told me, if you don't go to college, you gonna be poor. I'm like, boy, I ain't trying to be poor, boy. Like, I'm gonna go to college. I ain't never been that person. So I think, you know, another piece of advice as well is to not, like, I think experiences are good, but I don't think you should have to, like, go through an experience to know that it's real. You should be able to live off the unfortunate situations that are shared with you to avoid those situations. And I think I was able to take advantage of seeing somebody work hard, seeing people be poor, seeing people not have enough. And I refused to repeat that.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's part of it as well, just being able to, I guess you could say, almost like make sure that you ain't got to be a trial by fire person. Like I think that's the real thing that if I was a young person and I had one piece of advice that I would want, it would be that. Like, that was the thing that kind of catapulted me. And find somebody like Vernell Brown. You have Vernell Brown on here.
Yeah.
Man, when we were kids, Vernell Brown was baby Black Jesus.
All right. For
when
real,
we were kids, like Vernell Brown, like he was quarterback. Wasn't no black quarterbacks at GHS back then.
All right.
He was going to University of Florida. Never heard of that.
All right.
But the thing is, his dad did that. He had that example. So as kids, we ain't look at Vernell and say, man, we want to go to the University of Florida. We're like, we want to play football in college. We missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
we missed the whole thing. We want to play football. So I think even having those examples where you could see people in your community make it, what you're doing, Shad, is huge. Like going to college now, and it's an example to your children. You're going to be able to say, man, I went to college at 31. Man, I made it, and the family is better off. They ain't going to know, man. Azrael ain't going to remember when y'all were living in an apartment. She going to remember this house y'all living in. So straight having that experience, like sometimes we take that for granted, but as parents, we got to be more open about the fires that we went through and make sure the kids understood the trial before the triumph. I think that's huge.
That's real. Man, that's powerful right there. And you answered my next question. You know, I ain't even got to ask that. I was going to ask you about what advice would you give yourself, but you just said all that. And that's perfect advice, man. So and I'm going to ask you this last question right here.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you what advice would you give your 18-year-old you? But if there's any young father out there listening right now, what is one piece of advice would you give a young father out there, you know, that's trying to make it, you know, that's trying to do what's right? You know, what would just be that one thing that you would say to that father?
I would say there's many. That's a good question, Shad. Boy, you should have sent me these questions, boy. You Shad pulling these questions out, but I'll say there's many aspects or sides to what a man is, right? And as young men, there's one thing that's emphasized as young Black men, and it's toughness.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I think about principles that I was taught, that was the one I really remember the most. Like I mean, where we grew up, you better know how to fight, because if you don't, you're gonna get beat up or bullied or whatever the case is. So like being tough, not wearing your emotions on your sleeve, being somebody that's able to be even and not easily moved has helped me in a lot of ways. But as a father, it hurts me. As a husband, it hurts me not being emotional or being emotionally available is a bad thing. So I think if I had to talk to a young father, young husband, young man that think about being a father or husband, I think I would say pay attention to all things that make a man. Pay attention to all sides of it. Look at the spiritual component. Get somewhere that with somebody that can teach you some sound doctrine, somebody that not this crazy stuff people be talking about, and I ain't gonna even go down that rabbit hole, but get under somebody that can teach you what the word says and get a knowledge of it for yourself in your way and connect with God in your way. That, you know, some people won't ever be church people. They just won't. But have a prayer life, something like it's a spiritual component of us that we long for, regardless of if you're a church person or not. Some people do yoga or whatever the case is. It's a spiritual component that we all seek for. Get your spirit man under submission and have something bigger than yourself. Something bigger than yourself. Mine is Jesus, bro. I'm a Christian.
Yeah, straight
Jesus
up.
is the thing that's bigger than myself. But I don't want this to only refer to people that are Christians or some people that only believe what I believe. It's a principle that stands true. Now, I believe there is nothing else. I think Jesus is there. But
straight up.
I think that some people may find other mechanisms, but I'm saying there's a spiritual component to man. And then in addition to that, there's the physical component, taking care of yourself, making sure that you putting the right stuff in your body so that you can be of good health and look the part. They did a study on a percentage of CEOs that were fat versus percentage of CEOs that were in shape. And it's a glaring thing. I don't know the percentage, but Google that joint.
Yeah.
People don't want fat CEOs, bro. There's some that exist, but people don't want them. Like, so just making sure you take care of yourself physically, take care of yourself spiritually, and I think take care of yourself emotionally. I think emotional and mental health are not components that the Black community really talk about. And in addition to that, really, Black men we think that we're kind of like absolved of that kind of stuff. Like getting you a solid counselor or mentor that you can talk to and be open with and unbiased with. You know, it's huge, because being able to talk to people about what you're going through, how you're feeling, and have people that can course correct you and tell you you wrong and you off. And sometimes that's friends, sometimes that's mentors, sometimes that's siblings. But like, if I'm off, I can't call Shad and tell Shad something and he gonna agree with me and my foolishness. I can't call Darius Demps and say, hey, Darius, hey, man, this is my situation. I can't call Ashley Blaylock or Daryl King and be like, hey, bro, hey, this is my situation with my wife. I didn't do it. And they're going to be like, nah, bro, you justified. You cool.
Yeah.
Like some people in your circle that can honestly hold you accountable to your junk and your mess that you can be vulnerable with without your business in the street. But also people that's going to tell you the truth. And I think if I had to say the last component is find somebody where you want to be. Like have a goal, like have a goal person. Not saying that no person is the ultimate goal, but have somebody that you can glean to and look up to the point where you kind of know and almost reach out to that person in a way that you can be able to connect with that person. Somebody that you can touch, not somebody like people be like, I want to be like Bill Gates. Like you ain't gonna touch it. You ain't gonna touch your Will. Like you ain't gonna touch your Bill. Bill ain't gonna let you come to his house to talk to him. I talk about a successful person that's come from where you come from, a successful person that's been where you've been, that has overcome that and gleaned from them. And I think, you know, that's relative in fatherhood, that's relative in marriage. I think being able to be a whole man and deal with all the sides of being a man helps you be a better father, helps you be a better husband. And I think that's huge for me, being able to connect, you know, in those 4 phases, right? Physically, spiritually, emotionally / mentally, as well as being able to have somebody that from a, you know, and that could be educationally. I mean, you could say education, you could say professional, you know, is the 4th phase, but having somebody that you aspire to, or something that you aspire to that's bigger than you and bigger than where you are. And I think that's, you know, if I had to look back on my life at a young age, man, I regret a lot, Shad. Like I regret like a lot of my friends that, and we talked about this, you know, a couple of weeks ago, right? A lot of my friends that when I got a relationship with God and I knew I wasn't strong enough to be around stuff and not do what I was around. So I disconnected from everything and everybody. Like I just said, I can't be around you because I know that I don't have the strength to be able to to fight against that thing or to not be able to be influenced by that. So I think if I had to kind of go back in time, I would enjoy my youth as
All right.
well.
That's
Because,
real.
bro, I worked a lot, bro. Like, I went to University of Florida. People talking about parties and all that, man. I ain't do none of that, bro. I was
Yeah.
work, school, sleep. That's what I was doing. And you know, I met my wife there, and boy, we were using up her food stamps and all kind of stuff, boy, to try to survive. But I think understanding and appreciating life in its different phases is the second thing I'll say. I have three things, by the way. So the second thing I'll say, understanding life in the phases of life. So many times, like, people try to, my boss tells me all the time, appreciate where you are so that you can, she said, acknowledge where you are so you appreciate where you're going when you get there.
Yeah.
So it's about, like, so many times, like, people sitting in this job and they in this job, or they in this phase of life, or they at this salary, and they ain't happy here because they looking at the next step.
Yeah.
Instead of maximizing what they can do at this step, so that when they get to the next step, they can be appreciative of where they've been, but also they're able to take advantage of where they've been. So, for instance, when I worked at McDonald's, I was making $7 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I got a raise to $8, but you couldn't. Sorry. I got $8, boy. You couldn't tell me I wasn't rich, son. Boy, I went from that little 1-bedroom apartment with my roommate. I'm gonna go get me another apartment.
Yeah.
Man, I ate that whole raise up.
Yeah.
Trying to prove a point. Like, I went from making $7 to hour to I think it was $8.50 or something like that. And then I raised my living more than my raise was. And then I technically was making less money than I was when I was making $7.
All right.
So just appreciate where you are, so that way, if I can live like this at $7, when I get $8.50, I can live like this as well, and I can save my money.
Yeah.
So that when I do go to my next phase, I'm not in debt trying to keep up with what I believe is important. So that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say thirdly, Shad, I would say keeping first thing first and priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding the difference between a priority and something you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're very different. And I can tell you about, like, right now we're in the middle of this pandemic, working from home, job is ridiculously challenging. But I have to do a better job of this, and it's something that I'm striving to be great at. Being able to balance work and family.
Yeah.
Being able to functionally balance, making sure that I'm on my grind, but I'm also present. Like, I never want my daughter to wonder where I'm, like, dude, I was traveling, before this COVID thing, I was out of the country, out of the state, out of the city 75% of the time, 65% of the time. So when she was a baby, we didn't have the relationship we have now. We have such a great relationship. Like, I put her to bed every night because she go to bed with me. Like, it's just one of those things that you can't get that time back. So for young dads, that I'm all for you being on your grind. Shad, you taught me this, and I'll tell everybody what you told me. And sorry if I'm not supposed to, but
yeah.
you told me this. You said, bruh, I ain't gonna be so caught up at work and trying to be so successful at work that I feel like being a daddy and a hub. I am not, bruh. I ain't finna sit here and be trying to do all this stuff at work, like working 90 hours and come home and I ain't got nothing left to give my family.
Yeah.
And that thing made me check myself. It really did make me check myself. Like, what do I put before the well-being of my family and the health of my family? Like, being a whole man health stack, like being able to be equal in all those areas of the 4 areas I called out, and obviously being able to be functional in those areas is huge, but also being able to kind of look at where you are and having that accountability that I called out as well. But I think even more than that, sometimes when people are successful, they don't keep priorities priority.
Yeah.
And I talked to this guy. It's a guy that works at my job, and I tell people this about him, and I won't say his name just in case he listens to this, but he's a very good person for a new project. Like, you put him on a new project, Shad, like he is. I'm talking about, boy, something high visibility, big project, but that boy gonna knock that thing out the park. But if he had something else to do before that, he ain't gonna do that at all. Like, he gonna just go forget. He gonna completely stop doing the other thing. And I said, bro, I told him one day, I said, man, bro, I feel bad to be like one of your existing kids when you have a new kid, boy, because you'll forget to feed them other kids, but you'll be feeding that one kid, but you'll completely forget to feed them other kids that's been there. I'm like, bro, you got to be able to balance the fresh fun stuff with the not fun stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be that dad that's sitting there like, man, my daughter, she's a great gymnast, or man, she's an excellent student. But I gotta also make sure that I'm willing to change some diapers or some pull-ups, and I'm willing to help potty train and the stuff that ain't fun. I gotta be a part of that as well. So that's something that I'm living. And as a dad, I think we try to shy away from some of that functional parenting.
That's real.
And you can't shy away from that. You can't shy away from being a part of the parenting.
That's real.
If that makes sense. So I think keeping priorities. As men, we often put that burden on the women. And I ain't gonna lie, when my daughter was young, boy, I wasn't good, boy. I was scared to hold my child. Like, I thought I was gonna break her. I had some practice with Azrael, but I was scared, bro. I was scared to hurt her. I was scared that I was gonna, turn her, because she couldn't, man. She was always like, neck couldn't, man. I'm like, I can't hold her neck right. So I'll pick her up. She be like, head falling down, and like, I wasn't good at it, bro. And I think I'm much better at this age than I was like in the nurturing age, but I had to realize my role. And that's what a mom, like that nurturing, like moms, that's what they do, bro. Like, it's like out of the womb, they know how to be nurturing. Taylor take care of her baby dolls. You see her take care of her baby dolls right now.
Straight up.
Better than I could take care of her. Like, it's just like they come out the womb with it. So I think just being able to keep those things priorities and be a part of the moments that you'll never get back. And I miss so much in her younger, infant ages that I can't get that back. And I want to, make sure that I don't repeat that, being present, being at her little fall festivals or whatever, like, don't miss those moments.
That's real. That's real. And if I could say one more thing, what I told you came from something that you told me a long time ago. When we had the whole conversation about my problem was balancing my family and church. And I used to think that, now I wouldn't go super hard at work because I just felt like work was work. But when it came to ministry, I was like, man, shoot, boy, I got to be out here in the streets. I got to be doing this. I got to be over here. I got to be doing all of these things because I felt like that was like a greater purpose. I was serving a greater purpose, than, I felt like that was greater than what I had going on at home. Like, oh, well, my family gonna be my family, but I got to make sure I'm over here praying with this person or ministering to this person or, at this event and doing this and doing that. And I remember, and I was telling you that, and I never forget. And we talked about this, when you were like, you told me like, nah, bro, because I was trying to tell you that my first ministry was, my family wasn't my first ministry. And you were like, no, bro, like, that's wrong, bro. And I was like, and I fought you about it. Like, man, Rob, tripping. Man, my first ministry is out here. That's what God called me to. And it took me some years to really realize, once I started really going through in my marriage with my wife. And, as my kids started getting older, I'm like, nah, I'm tripping. Like, how I'm going to be helping these people, family out here when I ain't even helping my family at the house? Like, what I look like what am I going to look like to my children? What do I look like to my wife?
Shot, I'm gonna have to interrupt you, bro. And I'm about to make some people mad. I'm about to make some people mad real quick, boy. Some of these cats want to be fathers to these kids that they coaching and don't take care of their kids. That thing blow my mind, bro. You fathering all these kids that you coaching, and you don't take. What's one thing I admire about your brother Ron? Ron take care of his kids. He ain't just trying to train the next athlete. And so many cats just want to, like, bro, we got so many. I'm from Gainesville. We got 50,000 youth organizations in Gainesville. And you look at all of them, and I'm like, I ain't saying that none of them don't take care of their kids, and I ain't gonna call nobody out that does. I talked about Ron just a second ago, and I'm not gonna be specific there, but it don't stop. I want you to finish what you're saying, but it don't stop at ministry. It stop at anything. Don't be you got this purpose or this passion, and people put that for their kids like all the time.
That's real. And that's so true. And when it came to ministry, that was my thing, you know. And like I say now, you know, I'm like, I don't care about what y'all got. If I'm a part of a ministry and I got something going on with my family, with my wife, with my children, hey, I see y'all. I see y'all next week, or I see you tomorrow, or you know, I see you after I get done doing what I got to do. You know, I'm not gonna put you, you know, you or someone else's family above my family, like, because at the end of the day, y'all can walk out on me, you know, and we ain't got to talk no more. But at the end of the day, I got to still sleep next to my wife. You know, I still got to be at the house, you know, and my kids gonna still be coming to me as daddy, you know. So the way I look
Yep.
at it is, you know, my pastor might walk out on me, or my boss might walk out on me, or my homeboy might walk out on me. But at the end of the day, I don't never expect my wife to leave me, you know, and I never expect to leave my wife. You know,
Yep.
I don't never expect to leave my children. I don't never, like, they gonna always be my children. You know, so at the end of the day, my wife and Eliana and Uriah and Azriel, they will, that's me for the rest until I give my last breath or they give theirs. I have to serve them over everybody else, you know, because I believe if I do that, then and I mean, and it's biblical. I mean,
Straight up,
like the
bro.
word say, how can you, you know, uh paraphrasing, you take how you going how you trying to take care of the house of God when you don't even take care of your own house? It's like it don't make sense, you know. So and I believe that's why a lot of pastors and ministers, you know, they
Oh,
wives
you
look at
getting
them
on
in
you
the
getting on a no you getting on a whole other
yeah.
topic. That's
So
shot.
so we ain't gonna go there, but I believe we ain't gonna go there, but I believe that a lot of ministers and pastors' wives look at them in a certain way because they preaching to everybody else's family, but then they don't take care of business at the house. And then they wonder why it be looking the way it look. But we ain't gonna
Straight
go
up.
there.
But that's a reality in a lot of ways, bro. It's a reality, and at the end of the day, right? Just at the end of the day, just in all transparency, no man's perfect. But I like, I like when a lot of times we try to do functional work. We try to do functional work. Like this, it's a
Mm-hmm.
story in the Bible where I don't know where the one woman was trying. Jesus coming to her house and she was trying to serve him. She was trying to serve him. And then the one woman went down and washed his feet with a perfume, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be super like spiritual or nothing like that, but
Yeah.
I think the reality is that she acknowledged the time and the place to serve,
Mm-hmm.
and serving in her way was doing a service for the one that was in her house.
All right.
But so many times we be the other one over there trying to cook, clean up. We trying to wash dishes, and we ain't seeing that our wife over there, she exhausted and she need her feet rubbed. We ain't seeing our kid had a rough day where they may have been bullied and they need to be encouraged. Or
Mm-hmm.
our kid need help on their homework and they need us to stop doing what we doing and encourage them. Or like Taylor want to read a book at night and she want to pray at night so she feels safe. So I gotta put some bells around her bed and make sure she understands these bells gonna keep her safe while she sleeps. Cause my
Yeah.
girl be like, Cookie Monster is coming and he's gonna get me and I'm scared and I want to sleep in your bed. And I'm like, no, Cookie Monster ain't gonna bother you because you got these bears. And Cookie Monster, he's scared of bears. Like that's why on the Three Little Bears, you got to make a story. The Three Little Bears, that's why Cookie Monster didn't go to their house because like you gotta be sorry. You know what I'm saying, Sean? Like
Yeah.
you gotta make that story up. But the point is, she need me to invest that time to make her feel comfortable. And I'm sitting there thinking I'm serving Jesus in this optimal capacity while I'm doing all this stuff for him. But he acknowledged the one that took the time and did nothing but wash his feet.
All right.
Versus the one that's thinking they out there in the streets ministering, telling the
All
people
right.
that say the word and thus says the Lord. She was present in her house.
All right. That's real.
So when you look at that and you apply that, I need to be present in my house more than I need to be out there. Now, I miss being out there ministering to people and doing all of that.
Yeah.
But until me and my family having a steady Bible study, I don't need to be having no Bible study at nobody else's church. I don't need to be doing none of that. And I think that's a reality. And you can look
Real.
at that many different ways. You can look at it. It ain't just about ministry. It's about sports. It's about work. It's about any way that you can apply it. And Shad, you hit something, because I think as men that are men of faith, a lot of kids are messed up that have Christian parents because their parents was at church
All
when they
right,
couldn't go to teacher conference.
man. We'll be
No, we can't. I know we can't go there, Sean. I'm just saying. I know we can't go
Hey,
there.
hey,
We gotta get Africa on this podcast. We don't want to African Americans not feeling good about it, Sean. But that's a real reality, bro.
hey, man. Like I say, y'all, we ain't gonna go there, cause boy, if we go there, that'll be another 20, 30 minutes. Cause boy, I mean, we gonna have to say that for another time. Cause boy, if we go there, but cause there's so much truth in that, you know. And when I say that, I speak for myself, you know, because I've been there, you know, and I've made that mistake, and trying every day to fix that type of stuff, because I know, and I see it all the time. And I talk with wives, I talk with husbands, I talk with children, especially children. I've talked with children, and that's one of my favorite conversations. When I hear somebody tell me that they grew up in the church, I like to know, like, you know, like, what was your relationship like? And a lot of times it's that type of stuff that turn those pastors' kids away
from church. Yeah.
But man, that's a whole man. We can go for a whole nother hour on that there, boy. But y'all listen, man. If you heard, I just pray that y'all heard anything, something that you know that y'all can take from this podcast, man, because there were so many things that my brother dropped in this podcast. So many jewels, man. I just pray that, you know, there was something that was said that would help at least one person, you know. So we gonna end it right there. Bro, I thank you. I appreciate you for coming on, man, and everything that you shared. And one thing I always say about these podcasts, every dad that I've sat down with, I always learn something. Like, Dad, can we talk? Ain't about no perfect dads, and then about, you know, two dads coming on who got it all together. Like, no, like we are fathers who are continuously learning, and and this ain't about me. This podcast ain't about me. I didn't create this podcast about me. I created it as a platform for dads, you know, like my slogan, you know, by dads for dads. You know, this ain't about me. It's a platform for us. And I learned something from everybody that I've sat down with, man. And there's so many things that I'm gonna take from this sit down, man, that, you know, I can use for myself, you know, because I'm continuously every day trying to get better, man. And like I say, bro, I appreciate, you know, your openness, your honesty, man, and everything that you shared, bro, your wisdom. Like, I needed that, bro. And these talks for me can be therapeutic, because my whole point of Dad, Can We Talk is I feel like dads don't talk enough. And I be needing to talk, bro. Like, I be needing these. Like, I couldn't wait to get, like I say, I wanted to do it last weekend because I needed that, bro. Like, sometimes, bro, I just be like, well, I can't wait to sit down and talk with somebody, bro, because, you know, like I say, I be learning stuff, and I be needing that to be poured into, you know. And bro, like, I appreciate you, bro, for real.
And I appreciate you, man. I mean, I'm glad that we don't just, I mean, for the people that's listening, this ain't a conversation we have just because we was a couple weeks ago going to get some of that what white chocolate ice cream shot.
Yes, sir. But that
we
good
were
old
in the car talking that truth in the car, right?
All right, so that real deal.
It's an example of real deal accountability, real deal friendship, lifelong friendship. And bro, I honor you, man, and I'm so grateful to know you. I've seen you, man. I mean, people don't know your story, Sean. One day you need to come old Dad, Can We Talk, and talk about your story, like your real testimony. And I'm so proud of you, bro. Just the father, you know, one half of the Splash Brothers. Just I'm proud of the father that you've become and the husband you've become. Seeing your family, beautiful house, bro. Just so many wonderful doors that's about to start opening up for you, bro. And glad to know you, man, and glad to be a part of this introductory phase of Dad. Can we talk? And looking forward to seeing it grow. And glad you let me be a part of it, bro.
Yes, sir, man. But hey, for all y'all that listen, man, continue to support, continue to like the page, the Facebook page, continue to go to the Instagram page, uh, continue to subscribe on whatever platform that you listen to this podcast on. Subscribe, man. That helps the podcast out a lot. If your platform allows you to give a review or give it a 5 stars if you feel like that. If you feel like that's what it's worth. You know, I definitely want to try to start getting this to grow. But like I said today, I think we just hit 11 countries that we've at least got some sort of listen in. I think recently, yesterday, we just hit Singapore. So, continue to support the page, continue to share the podcast. If you think it's something that's good, if you're listening to this and you know a dad that you would like for me to get on the podcast, I'm willing and I'm down to sit down with anybody, as long as they're a father and they ain't got to be the most perfect father. I just like to sit down with men and really have conversations, man. And I definitely appreciate all the support that I've been getting, man. So I appreciate y'all, love y'all, continue to do y'all thing, man. Rob, boy, I love you. It's Dad, Can We Talk? We out.